Good morning. My name is Bobbi Konefal-Shaer, and I'll be your service leader. This is the Unity Center of Pittsburgh, and we're all here to celebrate just being together and our awareness that we have something special in us. Not because we are who we are, although that's quite special too, but because we're aware that as human beings, we carry that spark of goodness, that spark of godness, which emanates from us and makes everything new and everything lively and good. So we're here to make that spark grow and thrive, and we're very happy that you came today, but also if you happen to be tuning in or if you watch this a little bit later. So let's start our time together with some music, yeah? And today we have Margot Jezek. Oh.
It was very close.
Very close. Next
Closer
time.
than most. We're going to do Shambhala, Three Dog Night. If you know it, obviously, sing along. Gotta turn my guitar up, though. That's an important step. Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain with the rain and Shambhala. Wash away my sorrow, wash away my shame with the rain and Shambhala. Everyone is kind on the road to Shambhala. Everyone is lucky, everyone is so kind on the road to Shambhala. Sister, by the flowers in her eyes on the road to Shambhala. I can tell my brother by the flowers in his eyes on the road to Shambhala.
Thanks, Margot. So let us start our time together in this place with prayer. We know it's the foundation of everything. Prayer, tuning into that godness within. So with your next deep breath, let us focus on the good, on the godness. We are here in this God-centered universe, in this place at this time. And we let all the other cares go so we can focus on that aliveness, that which is coming to fruition. If you walked and noticed at all outside The spring is turning outward. It had been all tucked in, but now little shoots are coming. We are so grateful for this manifestation of the aliveness of this world, and know that that's part of the aliveness within each one of us. And so it is. Another song, Margot, maybe?
Yeah, I think we can do another song. Gonna do The More I Seek You. More I seek you, more I find you. More I find you, more I love you. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hands, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. The more I seek you, the more I find you. The more I find you, the more I love you. I wanna sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hands, lay back against you and breathe, feel your heartbeat. This love is so deep, it's more than I can stand. I melt in your peace, it's overwhelming. The more I seek you, the more I find you. The more I find you, the more I love you.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect and prayerful. We light a single candle every week. It's a symbolic gesture, symbolizing that light that is our essence, shining in each one of us. Sometimes you gotta go it more than once. You know, that's just like enlightenment. Sometimes it's in fits and starts. So set your eyes on that light. Let it pierce into you and know that within you is a light. You were born with that light. You can't blow it out. It's always there. External symbols can come and go. We use them because they're good reminders for us. But our light can't be extinguished. It's our essence. So with that, we also say our unity principles. And so with me and on the screen, if you can read them, let's God is the source and creator of all. There is no other enduring power. God is good and present everywhere. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, all people are inherently good. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Through prayer and meditation, we increase our conscious contact with God, bringing forth love, wisdom, health, prosperity, and everything good. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. And in living them, we will let that essence be. Margot, can you? Can you?
Segue. Yes, I can. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they may see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine on till tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
Let it be.
Beautiful singing, everybody.
Today's daily word is let go and let God. I bravely release outworn behaviors and embrace my bright, brilliant future. Holding on to what no longer serves me because it's familiar and I've grown accustomed to it, may stall my growth. I evolve much more quickly when I trust my guidance and release old patterns and behaviors. In my heart, I know that when I move away from a dysfunctional relationship, a negative attitude, or an unhealthy way of living, I move toward something greater. Peace, safety, harmony, freedom, and fulfillment. I let go of anxiety or fear and open myself to happiness and security. I breathe in freedom. My heart becomes buoyant and my steps lighter. I set my intention today to release anything I have been fearful of letting go, so that I can confidently move forward, open to infinite good. And from Matthew chapter 18, truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So let's participate in today's daily word by saying it 3 times. I bravely release outworn behaviors and embrace my bright, brilliant future. I bravely release outworn behaviors and embrace my bright, brilliant future. I bravely release outworn behaviors and embrace my bright, brilliant future. We always recall the children in our lives at this time in our service. Children. It happens that there are no physical children in this space at this time. But as we're all here, we all realize that we have the child that we are in our hearts. Before service, I was just looking at someone's childhood picture. We remember who we were when we were children. We remember it actually quite strongly. Let us cherish that person we were. That person who was just trying to do the right thing, just trying to grow, just trying to do what they were being guided to do, trying to do well, possibly trying to get around the rules a little bit because they were constricting. Well, just like our daily word said, we have things in our lives that we've accepted are constricting, but we don't need them anymore. And that child that we were was just trying to get around that. So let's become aware of, yes, physical children who are part of our everyday reality, yes. When we see them, when we interact with them, when we picture how they are in this world. But let us also cherish that child within, who in fact is the same person as is sitting here today. Just as smart, just as driven, just as kind, just as loved, just as loving. Let us cherish that child of our being. And give it the warmth that perhaps it needed and couldn't find. Give it the nourishment that may help us with today's goals. And let's give it the encouragement to know that it is infinitely powerful and infinitely good, even if perhaps the adults around that child couldn't see it. Bless the children, and so it is. With our next breath, let us also remember those people and those situations that need some help. We believe here at Unity in prayer and in our prayerful intentions. When someone we know is ill or in a bad space, we pray for them. And prayer is not just begging and asking, please, please, please fix this. No, prayer is seeing it as it truly is, in spirit, seeing the situation right, seeing the situation move through the difficulties. So let us bring those difficult situations, difficult aspects of life in this space and see them being resolved, burned through, if you will, with the light. We see the difficulties in health come to fruition in healing. We see perfect health. We see difficulties in relationships, and we see them moving through into harmony. We see difficulties in employment, moving to perfect functioning. We see strife moving also into perfect love and harmony, and people getting along, people respecting one another. Let's hold this vision of perfection for those people that we know and love, including ourselves. And so it is. And perfectly situated, Margot is going to sing, I Send My Love.
I've never sung this one here before. I want to make sure I know. It's love, joy, and peace. All right, you guys have to help me.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my love and my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my peace over the mountains. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heavens, and it returns to me.
Thanks, guys.
Margot, might you be able to play a few chords while we work with our meditation? Thank you. A little bit of stream of consciousness while we're getting ourselves quiet and in a sacred space. So I invite you to find comfort in your seat. Let your feet touch the ground and know that you are attached to this earth in an important way. Set your body up so that you almost can feel the back of the chair. And let's stretch up those shoulders in a deep breath and then release. Following our theme today of releasing that which has been outgrown, we will be breathing deeply and trying to recall aspects of our lives that we would love to release. Things that no longer serve. Things that we needed or pulled close to us when we were children, perhaps, or as a defense in our young lives. Ways of doing things that don't quite work, that take us around the block rather than directly to our need, to our issue. Constant release on the out-breath. We just came through a pandemic where we learned we had to stay isolated. And maybe we've assimilated some of those habits. Maybe we've forgotten how to extend ourselves to our friends and our acquaintances, and to even strangers. Let us release. Father, Mother, God, make us truly helpful to one another. Let us examine whether our relationships are truly healthy. Do we sometimes give others too much advice? Let it go. Do we forget to listen? Let it go. Do we forget to share? Let it go. Sometimes it's hard to change those behaviors. Sometimes it's easier to use the worn path, to reach for the crutch, for the food, for the entertainment, for the phone, instead of doing what's next. We release. Sometimes what we have to do requires internal strength and even bravery. You might be aware of something that needs to be done that's stimulating you every time you see it. And you know something must be done. Breathe in some courage. And let go of the fear of failure. In Matthew, we heard today that whatever is loosed on earth, this physical place, is loosed in heaven. Heaven, our consciousness. So if we can let it go by intention at first, then by a little practice and some nudging. And these things we're letting go aren't necessarily bad, just things in our way. Barriers, defenses, reticence. I let it go. Fear of being wrong. I let it go. Fear of what people will think. I let it go. Fear of making a mistake. I let it go. Let's take about a half a minute to really penetrate the place that your good consciousness is taking you. And maybe if it didn't come up for you during today's meditation, know that it will. You are divinely programmed to know how to get to your next steps. So on the next few breaths, breathe in some joy. For you are not alone in this task, on this path. Whatever it is your heart desires to do next, whether it's as simple as having a conversation, or helping a neighbor, or helping someone who needs it at the store, know that you are supported by the Godness within. And on the next breath, see yourself as having completed this task, gone to this new platform, this new level of consciousness, doing the God's work within you in this place on earth. For you have everything you need. I have everything I need. And so, as we come back to this room, move those shoulders again. Become aware of space around you, the here and now. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite person's words, that you have everything you need. Just be kind and brave. Mr. Rogers. And now our special song, Margot. Annie's song.
John Denver.
You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountains in the springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter. Let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you. Let me always be with you. Come, let me love you. Come, love me again. Let me give my life to you. Come, let me love you. Come, love me again. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses. Come fill me again.
Yes, I remember John Denver singing that, but it didn't penetrate me like your song did this morning, Margot. That was beautiful. Thank goodness for the breath. And now we have Vince coming to us on our screens. Vince Lisi is our friend from Youngstown, Ohio, who has prepared a message for us entitled, God is all in all and all in you. Vince?
My dear friends, you might be surprised to realize how much you personally have expanded in your spiritual journey, from seeing yourself as a limited human being to beginning to realize your full stature as a child of God, living from the power of the soul spirit that is within you. Yet what might be even more surprising is how your growth continues to expand. What happens is that as soon as you are challenged to extend yourself or expand yourself to a new level of awareness, a new part of you opens so that that particular God quality can be expressed. Something new opens within you to express that quality. Recently, we have taught the importance of living in the God spirit without deviation, without making excuses, and certainly without making exceptions. This teaching of living without deviation has necessitated a new part of the self that is you to open up. That self is really your God self, your soul spirit, that is now opening more and more fully. The movement to a fuller opening of the God spirit within you, this movement of the fuller opening of the God spirit within you is today's teaching entitled, God is All in You. I will begin with an inspirational phrase about the omnipresence of God, proceed to what is already established within us, and then conclude with the two practical directions from the notion that God is all in you. God is all in you. So let's begin. One of the truest and probably one of the most inspirational phrases of life is that God is all in all. We love to say that. God is all in all. What it simply means is that God, the God Spirit, is the sustaining energy of everything that exists. It is the energy of God that is within everyone and behind everything. If it were not for the sustaining energy of God, nothing and we ourselves would not exist. It is this notion that God is the sustaining energy of everything in existence that has given rise to the teaching of God being omnipresent. In fact, traditionally there are considered to be three attributes of God. Probably you know them. The first one is that God is omnipotent or all-powerful. The second, that God is omniscient or all-knowing. The third one, that God is omnipresent, that God is everywhere. Or as I like to say, God is all in all. And even more so, there is no place that God is not. If something is, then it is of God. It is God's energetic presence that sustains it, including you. You are sustained by this light energy of the God Spirit. Now, this notion of God being all in all, this raises a good question for us as human beings. Or better said, the notion of God raises in all of us the better question of what does it mean for God to be all in all for us as a soul spirit within this body of ours? It's a good question. The simple question, in a sense, then boils down to this. What would life be like? What would life be like if God is all in you? What would life be like if God was all in you? If you would be able to allow the presence of God to be the encompassing presence of your life. It's a good question for us. My presumption is you would want this to occur. So let's see what it would entail. I think that you would be surprised, perhaps maybe in these 4 ways. The first one, you might be surprised to know that the God Spirit is already established within you. That the God Spirit is not something you have to achieve. Rather, the God Spirit is just something you have to allow. Simply to allow it to emerge from your soul spirit. You are already created in the image and likeness of God. The Holy Spirit has already breathed its life into you. All that you need to do is to allow the God Spirit to come forward, to remove the blockages, which bring us then to the second point. Please listen carefully. The second surprise concerning the blockages, and I'll speak more about them later on, is that you are not as limited as you have been taught. You're not as limited as you have been taught. You're not as limited as you were taught by your family at times. Comments such as children should be seen and not heard, or who do you think you are, have had a diminishing impact upon us, not just as children, but also into adult life. You are not nearly as limited as you have been taught by society at times. Phrases such as, no one's perfect, or to err is human, or just seeing people apologize, for their social mistakes, from athletes to politicians, presents a clear recognition that God cannot be all in you. And then, of course, there is the worst. You are not nearly as limited as religions have taught you. This notion presented by religion that you are a sinner, susceptible to even damnation by a supposing loving God. Absolutely false. Rather than learning to see yourself as a beloved child of God, especially as presented in the story of the prodigal son, where nothing can remove the love of God for us, the children of the divine. And of course, religion has another problem. It has a difficulty in trying to understand Jesus' teaching of being perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. A very, very clear indication of what we are capable of, a clear example of what we are capable of, which leads to that third surprise. The third surprise of the God Spirit already established within us is best again formulated in this question. If God were all in me, if God were all in me, what would that look like? And what would that feel like? Let me just pose the question again. If God were all in me, what would that look like? What would that feel like? May I suggest to you the following. If God were all in you, what it would look like, and especially what it would feel like, what it would look like, and what it would feel like, is that you would be a conscious, creative energy of love. If God were all in you, what it would look like and feel like is that you would be a conscious, creative energy of love. It would have these three elements to it. You would be conscious of the God Spirit as your spirit. Secondly, you would then be guided by the God energy as intuition to your inner goodness and inner love. And then thirdly, you would simply express that love in your own personal life, with your family and your friends. If God were all in you, you would have gotten the message of Jesus from A Course in Miracles when he says, teach only love, for that is what you are. The conscious expression of the love of God. That's what it would look like and feel like. Which now brings us to the fourth and perhaps biggest surprise, allowing God to be all in us. Voiced theoretically in an affirmation and lived practically by many of us. First, the affirmation, and it's a good one. It's the one that is usually beautifully presented in the teaching of the Unity churches. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. We're beginning to get this. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. That's the truth. When God becomes all in you. This affirmation is now lived very practically by more and more of us, for we are allowing the God Spirit to be all in us. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, the God Spirit is becoming your conscious, creative, loving energy. What an incredible level that we are either aspiring to or perhaps have already achieved. Wherever we are, God has become all in us. Oh, there was a time we thought, no way. We're doing this. We are immediately, truly assisting not only ourselves, but each other. We are living in a sense without deviation. We are not deviating from the path of allowing God to be that presence within us, where God is becoming all in us, consciously. Okay, let's now proceed to the two practical things that need to be done so that the God Spirit might be all in us. But first, let me make an opening comment. The goal of our conscious living, the goal of being conscious, is to truly allow the God Spirit to be the all-inclusive consciousness within us. That's the goal. Allow the God Spirit to be the all-inclusive consciousness within us. This is an enormous shift from the personality self that kind of says, me first, to the God self that says, love first, oneness first, God first. Let me now proceed to focus on the two practical things we need to do so that the God Spirit might be all in us. The first step you will know that it has two distinctive parts. The second of which is the more difficult to achieve, although the first one takes a lot of concentration as well. The first step of allowing the God Spirit to be all in you, the first step, honestly, to allow the God Spirit to become all in you, is to remove what doesn't belong in the God Spirit within you. You must prepare room for God in your heart. You must prepare room for God in your heart and in your mind and in your emotions and in your body by releasing all of the old habits that still might linger within you. You know this. At least you know this first part of the step. You know how important it is to rid yourself of the wobbles and the distortions of self-centeredness. You know this. You know how important it is to get beyond what's simply in it for me. This attitude of, well, it's just for me and for mine. For when we are in wobbles, when we are in me first, it's so difficult to get beyond dependencies on others, on possessions, on money, on the things of the world, including food and sex, and the need to find entertainment outside of you. You know how important it is to get beyond these wobbles, these irrational fears of being alone, of becoming penniless, poor health with no one to take care of you, and of course the fear of death itself. All of these releases are big because we become so dependent on them, and we need, of course, to deal with them. But it's precisely at times such as this that you must remember that you are not as limited as you were taught by your family. You are not as limited as you were taught by society. And you are certainly not as limited as you were taught by religion. But there is a second aspect of releasing, that is even deeper, and it demands more attention. The second aspect deals not with the things outside of you. The things outside of you are kind of the easier part. It's the things within you that is the second and much more difficult release that's necessary. This is probably the most important part of the teaching. Please listen carefully. Jim Self has presented this very nicely in his wonderful book, A Course in Mastering Alchemy. He calls it a remnant of disbelief within the ego. I'm going to repeat it and then explain it. He calls it a remnant of disbelief within the ego. This remnant of disbelief within the ego carries with it a lot of baggage. Listen closely. First, it carries with it a sense of unworthiness, a doubt or a feeling that I am not good enough to be a child of God. Secondly, as one looks back over our lifetimes of separation, one begins to look at all of the things that we have done in low energy. It's very easy to forget that we have played the game of separation consciously, intentionally. And now we are moving back into our primal state of the conscious, loving presence of God. Please do not define yourself by your past in the game of separation. Define yourself by your future in alignment. And then thirdly, there is this massive collective belief system of the ego in so many people, from newscasters to newspapers to the everyday demands of the world, that have a tendency to turn you away from the God Spirit within you. Each of these three things, I'm not good enough, look at my past, oh my God, the world is too much. Each of these three things are difficult obstacles from within. And when joined together, especially in the presence of one or more with low energy, they can easily sway you away from the presence of God within. These obstacles from without and from within combine at times to give us that insidious, fearful phrase that keeps so many people stuck. It's an insidious, fearful phrase. It's this: after all, you're only human. It's an insidious phrase. After all, you're only human. How disrespectful that is to our Creator. It is this phrase that we must move beyond, which now leads me to the second practical thing. Once we release the obstacles, we can then practice the positive things, wherein God can be all in all, especially all in us. Again, this positive phrase has two parts to it. The first one will be the more important, and the second one you pretty well know. It's the first, more positive teaching that we must learn to understand, that we sometimes forget. So let me say it in several ways. First, God loves you, whether you think it's so or not. Secondly, you've been created in the image of God, whether you think you are or not. Thirdly, God is for you, whether you think so or not. Fourthly, God is desirous of serving you as the light within you, whether you think so or not. And God is the power within you that gives you dominance over everything that is, whether you think so or not. Are you beginning to get the picture? It boils down to this fundamental statement in Romans 8:13. If God is for us, who can be against us? If the God Spirit, I'm not talking about a God out there, but the God Spirit within you, which if you would simply allow to come forward and to know that this is the God within you that is for you, who can be against you? You must convince yourself of the truth of this statement. No one can do it for you, but you can. To accept it, to feel it, and to live it. If God is for you, who can be against you? It's a matter of understanding that the light of God is your light. That brings us to the second part of practicing the practical things that allow God to be all in you. You know the list. Start before getting out of bed in the morning by saying something like, I will love everyone today. And in so doing, I am ushering in the kingdom of God. Secondly, do those spiritual practices of spiritual and physical well-being. Thirdly, attend spiritual meetings. Fourthly, practice the 10 steps of daily enlightened living. But a last comment. You must eventually come to the conclusion that all of the great spiritual teachers have come to. Actually, it's not a conclusion. They came to an experience. And you must come to the same experience. That when you allow the God consciousness to be your consciousness, you will have the greatest joy and the greatest happiness in life. And you will be such an incredible blessing to all of the people that you love, as well as all of humanity, our planet, oh yes, and beyond. In conclusion, let us continue to remind each other of the joy of living with complete resignation to the God Spirit. that the God Spirit is not just the recognition of the omnipresence of God in everything that exists, but especially that the God presence is the God Spirit in you, that God is all in you. Use your wonderful gifts of love and oneness as expressions of the God Spirit, especially resulting in this beautiful phrase that I like to say: Thou is me is thee. We are one, thou and me. Thou is me is thee. We are one, thou and me. And yes, of course, God is not only all in each of us, but God is all in all of us. We are the family of God.
We thank Vince for that amazing distillation. This service has been amazing. I don't know about you, but it's affected me, and I just so appreciate your presence, everyone's presence here, as you have contributed to, I don't know, kind of a central message about our oneness and how there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And now it's time to continue a practice that we call our prosperity practice. It's kind of an effort on our part to get some kind of tangible something, and in this culture we use money or service or a smile, but the tangible stuff is usually the stuff in the wallet, right? And we contribute because we want to be part of this flow. We want to be in the flow of divine ideas and all of good, and the next impetus to make us that all is God. So I encourage you to do something tangible right now. Grab something that's real, that you know is real and true for you, and we're going to put it in the basket as our ushers come around. But right before we do so, let's give it an intention. So on the screen, you'll find our prosperity principle. And so let's say that together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. And as this is happening, Marco's getting ready for the next song, Rainbow.
Yes. When it rains, it pours, but you didn't even notice. It ain't raining anymore. It's hard to breathe when all you know is the struggle of staying above the rising water line. But the sky is finally open. Rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again. You hold tight to your umbrella, darling, I'm just trying to tell you that there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. If you could yellow, red, and orange and green, and at least a million others. Tie up the bow, take off your coat, take a look around. The sky is finally open, rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again. You hold tight to your umbrella, darling, I'm just trying to tell ya that there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. So tie up the bow, take off your coat, take a look around. Everything is all right now, 'cause the sky is finally open. The rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again. Let go of your umbrella, darling, I'm just trying to tell ya that there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. Yeah, there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. It'll all be alright.
We have a few announcements, and probably the most important is that there's a workshop coming up on Sunday, March 12th about preparing for death by hospice workers, Linda and Michael Quinn. I believe they're doing the service that day, and there will be a workshop following it. And there's a love offering of $20 for that workshop. And they were here recently, and we were wrapped with attention. So much good ideas, so many good ideas, and so much ways of lovingly supporting the process of death, which we all will face sometime. And we have a job opening. We're looking for an office manager. We're also looking for a few volunteers. If you'd like to know more about those announcements, there are sheets on the table outside in the lobby, and we encourage you to take a look there. But let's wrap up this time together by singing together our peace song.